And aloha. Welcome to the Blue Note Fan Report. I'm Guy, the Hawaii Blues fan. I'm joined today by Jeremy the Fox Miller and by Brock Banner. And Guy, it took me a lot to even come up and do this. I know, Jeremy, you've been talking to me, trying to get me to feel, comfortable. I did the Blue Notes podcast, and this isn't about views. This isn't about clicks. This isn't about the website. This is about a legend, and a legend that we lost unexpectedly today. I'm sure everyone knows, but Bobby Plager lost his life today while he was on his way to the Enterprise Center for a press conference about Barkley completing his training and coming back to the Blues permanently. I'm at a loss for words. I really am. And this is a struggle to even talk about. Brock, you've kind of been around like I have for a while. And, I don't know if you ever got to meet Bobby or not, but I'm pretty sure you have some memories of Bobby and the things
Sure.
of him. So would you mind sharing a little bit of that with us?
What I'd love to, and first of all, my condolences go out to the Plager family and to people like you, Guy, and me. I remember Bob Plager as a badass hockey player. Okay, I don't remember a lot of the PR stuff, a lot of him in the community. And all. I remember him on the ice just kicking the crap out of guys, and that was that old time hockey. And that was, when I heard that he passed, obviously I took a moment, and I just started thinking about that movie Slapshot, because wasn't that how he lived his life? And that's how he wanted people to remember him, and he just embraced it. So in one way, obviously I'm in shock. It's hard to believe everybody in town's in shock. It's just this thing doesn't sort of happen. But in some regards, for Bobby Plager, there's some justice that he went very quickly. He didn't have a long sickness. He didn't have cancer. He didn't go through a very long, prolonged sickness. He died on his way to the Enterprise Center. He's done a million times before with the Blues in his heart, and I mean, I hate to get all nostalgic, because I understand people are really struggling with this, and I am too, but I really try to be positive, and I've experienced death in different situations in my life, but I always try to look at, how does the person want to be remembered? And I'll tell you, man, Bobby Plager wants to be remembered in a tribute, man. He wants people to remember him as a hockey player and as a guy that set examples and set standards out there. You know what I mean? And I think that, it's a shock for all of us. We're so used to seeing him. He's been such a part of Blues hockey. He's he's one of those legends. He won't show up on the stat sheet. He won't show up in the Hall of Fame records necessarily for the league, but here locally, he was our guy.
Yeah, Mr. Blue. Now I want to talk to Jeremy real quick. So Jeremy, you've been drugged into the Blues family, and not willingly or unwillingly, but you've been drugged in, and you've seen in the last couple of weeks that we've been together how this family reacts. So I really want to know. I want to know from an outsider's opinion of what's going through your mind with all of this.
It was kind of weird. I was on Twitter while I was driving, supposedly not to do that, but I saw a tweet from Cam Janssen that said "R.I.P. Bobby," and I'm like, "What?" I'm like, "No, it couldn't been." So I looked into it, and sure enough, I'm like, "Whoa, what the hell happened?" I literally just got done reading your article yesterday, and knowing I'm new to the Blue Notes, I'm new to the fan, but I want to say something. This fan base is amazing, and you guys have welcomed me with open arms, and I appreciate that. And I know that Bobby's done a lot for you guys. I mean, hell, he was the original. And it's tough. It really is. Not being in this fan base for very long, it hits me too. Like when I saw that, I had.
I don't think of the 5 original franchises that are left, that anybody had somebody in the organization that was still there for the whole period, right? Bobby was the last original from 1967, right? And that's, that's hard to swallow, and it's especially when it's this unexpected, right?
Yeah.
So I had a comp and pension with the VA today, and when you do these, Brock, you've been through them before. They're in some ways they can be humiliating because their job is to prove that you're not lying. So I get I get anxieties over them. So I laid down before I had to go to this, and when I woke up is when I found out, started finding everything, and I got lucky when I got to the appointment, which was on the other side of the island. Told them, hey, I need to make this quick so I can get out of here. They did a quick, real good, let me go so I could get up and do the Blue Notes thing. But I originally didn't plan on doing this, but the more I thought about it, I was like, maybe we need to come on and just talk about what this means to us. And it's not just that. It's, I thought about this a bit. Somebody from the outside might be looking in and not understanding what we're feeling, right? And I say that because, I'm going to mention a big name that for a lot of people, this meant something. Michael Jackson passed. For me, it wasn't a big moment. I wasn't a huge fan of his. I didn't have this connection to him. But now when I was 7 years old and Elvis Presley passed, I had a connection. In my mind, I had this connection to him. So, I remember that. And now that we're sitting here kind of talking about this, just everything that's coming out, it really, it's shocking to have to sit here and do this today. I don't know what else to say. I'm sitting there trying to think of what to say, and it's just, it's really hard. Tomorrow's game is going to be absolutely gut-wrenching.
Minnesota better strap their boots on because they're about to get their asses handed to them.
Yeah,
I don't know.
If they don't come in swinging and they play like they did today against the Ducks, they're going to get their asses handed to them because the Blues are coming out they want to win for Bobby.
I hope because in the past they haven't done well in emotional games.
I think for me that people need to understand what his role was with the Blues. Okay, as a former player, obviously when you hang up the skates, you still have associations with the team, and certainly involved with scouting and helping the team look for different players. And actually today, Jamie Rivers told a story on the air. There you go, of guys showing up there. Well, anyway, so on the radio, Jamie Rivers told a story about being scouted or being on a scouting trip with Bob Plager, and they were there for a couple minutes, and they left, and the player said, why are we leaving? He said, we're gonna beat everybody to the bar because this kid's already got 4 points. We've seen enough of him tonight. So he was that kind of guy. So. But the other thing is that he connected the different generations of players with each other, and he was out in the community. So he's the guy that's going to hospitals, going to some of the senior homes, and making himself available on behalf of the Blues. And I think that's something that a lot of people don't give these players credit for when they leave the game. A lot of them stay connected by doing these appearances and going out. And Guy, you and I have been talking with the Blues alumni, and they've really been trying to do a great job of touching the community in many different ways. So his role was important because he connected the dots for the franchise.
Yeah, so I reached out to a couple of former Blues, and I'm gonna, if I can read these, I read them on. There's one I can't read. I'll tell you straight up, I can't read it, but I'll try and read the couple that I can. This is from Gary Unger. Bobby was a close friend and teammate, always the life of the party and dressing room. Bobby, Bark, and Noel were larger than life. Bobby always had time to stop and talk and tell a joke to everybody. He will be sadly missed. I had to wipe tears away reading that. Another one that I got that I can read was from Mike Zook, and it was so poignant and it's so simple. Bobby was the heart and soul of the Blues and the alumni. I got another one, and I'm not going to say who it's from, but it confirmed, well, it states that Bobby was on his way to the graduation ceremony for Barkley, named after his brother. And it was brought to my attention. This is the 40th anniversary of Bark's number being retired. And it looks like that he did have a heart attack car. So he may have died before the accident. And we don't know, and I'm not going to speculate. I'm in shock. I'm just in shock. I'm trying to process it, and it's not the easiest thing to do for me. And I likened it to Pavel Dimitra's plane wreck. He's been out of the Blues for a while. I'd been out of the Blues because I've been living in Hawaii, and we don't get hockey over here. The NHL Network hadn't come yet. I mean, the only time I got hockey was on the playoffs, so I was kind of out of touch. But when that hit me, it hit me like a ton of bricks. And this one hits even harder. The fan base, the city is reeling tonight. This is equivalent to Stan Musial passing.
Sure.
Equivalent to just recently we've lost Lou Brock and
Gibson.
Bob Gibson. These were immortals.
Sure.
Some people wonder, why do we make statues to sports heroes? And I think this time of COVID has definitely shown us how much sports means to us, right? When it was taken away, needed it back so bad, right? It's not an escape so much to say, but it's a connection. You connect with these people. They play a sport. They play a game. They make a living at it. They do it to the highest levels, and they do it because they love it in most cases. And Bobby loved hockey and loved the city of St. Louis. From a coal mining town, yet here he is. This is where he made his home. This is where his brothers made his home. The picture, and Tom had it up, and I just couldn't do it, of him kneeling next to his brother's grave with the cup. That's just, so poignant that when Bobby's day with the cup, that's what he wanted. He wanted to take it there, and they had to get special permission and things like that. They gave him that day, and he was the first non-uniform person, right before any of the coaches did, to hold the cup in the air. And then he was the first one to drink out of it. So, that just goes to show you what he meant to the organization. And it's really, I'm trying to breathe it in, and I can't. I'm not processing it very well. And if you want to know why I'm coming on, that's why I came on here. And it's not like I normally do with the show. I share it in 30 or 40. I shared it in two. I shared it in two groups. This is in 5 places total. It's on Twitter, YouTube, my Facebook page, my group, The Lounge. That's it. This isn't about views. This isn't about anything. This is about giving us a chance to celebrate and let us know what we need to all know, that we're suffering together, that this means something to each one of us. And I got something here. My boys came up to me and said, "Dad, that guy who was nice to us and made me laugh, he died?" I said, "Yeah, buddy. He loved the Blues. That's why we love him." I was pretty emotional after that.
Wow.
I got you, Charlene, my prayers with Bobby and his family. Roland, I shared it to every Blues and St. Louis fan group. I mean, thanks, Roland.
Nice,
this is one of those times where I wasn't going to do that, Daryl Cannon, I'm so effing sad right now. It's just, this isn't how I want to get notoriety, and it's not. Absolutely not. I'm not doing that for this, and you guys know that.
But you know
there's
what, though? As the voice of the fan, though, we need to pay tribute, and that's what we're doing as fans. We're not slick media people. We're not from New York. We don't. Maybe Jeremy
Absolutely.
lives on Madison Avenue, but we're just guys doing this, and it's us, the fans, who are giving a shout out to Bobby because we meant to us and what the memories he gave to us. So that's why we're doing this, guy, because it's about Bobby.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it
tribute,
is.
man.
It's absolutely about Bobby. And
And go ahead.
go ahead. No, you go ahead,
Obviously.
Jeremy.
I was gonna say, I'm a hockey fan through and through. Mostly Penguins, but I've been brought into this fan group. If I want to get one Blues jersey, it's not going to be Tarasenko. It's not going to be a current Blue. I mean, it's not going to be Tarasenko. It's not going to be Sanford. It's going to be ROR. Because if he told Bobby told him he wanted his parade, and Ryan said he was going to get it, and he damn well brought it to him.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And that shows class for Ryan O'Reilly. And these people that bash him this year about not stepping up, step back.
Because
damn it, that man is I can't even. Yeah,
I know.
That'll be my first Blues jersey though, is ROR.
Wow.
Yeah, and we all appreciate that, Jeremy. I made a statement on the Blue Notes podcast, and I'll echo that statement here. He needs to be in the Hall of Fame as a builder.
Yes.
Right? Because you go back and you look at that period of expansion. First of all, this is something that a lot of people don't know. The Blues didn't even bid on an expansion team. The Blues got the team because Dollar Bill Wirtz, who owned the Chicago Blackhawks, owned the arena, didn't want to put a dime into it, wanted to get rid of it. So he forced the NHL to give a franchise to St. Louis so he could get rid of the arena at a prime price. And you had the Solomons, whose son, becoming a fan and said, let's do this, came in and bought the arena and put the money into it and all of that. That's how the Blues started. And Bobby, who played for the Rangers in 64. Now you got to understand this. He talked about this. He wasn't the best player, but he was, for that time period, he was the guy that did the things he needed to do. In 1964, when he came in the league, there were 6 teams. 6 times 23 is what? 100 and something, right? When they doubled the size of the league, it allowed him to play longer, but he was good enough to be on the Rangers. And he came here and he embodied what it meant to be a Blue. And the other thing is, you look at, and like you were talking about, Jeremy, I just wrote that article. What does it take to be a Blue? What does it mean to be a Blue? And, that's, oh man. And I'm going to read what I wrote there. If you give me just a second. And then I'll say something else. And I don't think a lot of people got it or understood what I was trying to do. So I'll have to kind of explain that. But this is what I wrote about Bobby. I'll try and blow it up here just a little bit because my eyes are clouded over a little. Okay. So here we go. Number 1, Bobby Plager. So many people forget about Mr. Blue. Bobby has done more for the organization than any other 2 or 3 players combined. After the boys got him his parade, he asked if the cup could be taken to the Bark's grave and have a drink poured on it for him. That moment is so fitting. The original Blues Brothers have done nothing but bleed blue since 1967. Not about numbers, about Bobby's nervously walking the corridor of the suites at the Enterprise, waiting for his Blues to make a return trip to the Stanley Cup Finals. The last time they were there, he was there too. It's about the man who dreamed of a parade for 52 years. If you ever want to know what it means to be a Blue, just watch Plager at Blues events. I will never forget how the team gave Bobby the first taste from the cup. I could go on and on and on. This man, our number 5, is actually our number 1. And I could have easily, while I read that, showed it up. I'm not going to promote my website. Not promoting anything today. That's not what it's about. It's all about him. And I absolutely meant those words. When this first thing came up about the top 10 blues, it was so I was so taken back that nobody had put Bobby's name there, right? And the question was, and maybe player was understood, but it wasn't. It was, who are your top 10 blues? Nobody else fit the billet for number one. Nobody. Right? And as we're dealing with this today, it really is an interesting thing that we have to handle or talk about this tragedy that is, because, you know, it's not, he was taken too early. Even at 78, the man was healthy, more or less, right? He didn't have an illness that we know of or any of that. The man was more than healthy. And it's really striking that this is all going down. And then the irony of it, 40th anniversary of his brother's number going into the rafters. The dog named after his brother. You know, that's where he was headed. You know, it's really.
I got a question for you. So,
Yeah.
okay. And you know, I live in St. Louis, and I was here, and I didn't really know what was going on until you and I talked to Guy, and I immediately went to social media. It was really surprising, the reaction. You know, certainly, the first thing out was that, you know, people were saying, "Hey, I heard, you know, R.I.P. Bobby," and, you know, all of a sudden you started scratching your head like, "What's going on?" And, you know, that time it took between the news and when the team responded and statements, you know, there's like a 2-hour period of what's going on, and then people are starting to fill in the blanks. And one thing I noticed on social media, just some people get really a big kick out of just throwing out news, even if it's not anywhere near accurate. And I don't think they understand how hurtful that could be to the families, or even, you know, in some cases, police investigators, if that's involved. But, you know, I know they want to be helpful. They want to feel like they're in the know, but sometimes, you know, just kind of wait for that statement to come out. And again, we're all in shock. We all want to be first, but let's get it right, you know? And again, you know, just don't be so quick to want to be right first.
Yeah, no, the accident happened, and shortly after, the rumors started swirling that it was Bobby. The Blues canceled the 3:00 press conference for Barkley, and that kind of pushed it a little bit further. I started getting texts from people connected that it was true, but I wasn't going to jump on it yet. I wanted to wait. I wanted an official word. I had enough, and this is against nobody else. Trust me, that's not what I'm saying. Okay, this is against nobody else.
Sure.
I had enough to say it, but it just didn't feel like it was my place. Yep. And that's, look, I got nothing. Please don't take this that I'm saying that anybody else that did it. That's fine. If you had it and you released it, I'm fine with that. I absolutely am. Right. I'm just saying that for what I was going through with the VEA, and that I just kind of put a quote out there that if it's true, this is one of them. I hope isn't. No, exactly. And so I did put some stuff out, but I did not, when I had it, I did not release it.
Sure. And again, I mean, that wasn't definitely directed at you by any means, just
I know
how fans react to different things. And, you know, certainly there's tons of respect, don't get me wrong, but, you know, that first half hour, there's all kinds of, you know, really, you know, just different stories that were really way out there. So.
Yeah, it was kind of, it was surreal. It is actually very surreal how this story came about. You know, the Post-Dispatch had it. The Post-Dispatch basically released it first, and they released pictures of the van, and that was, you know, I'll tell you what I got to say, and I'm glad, and I say this I'm glad nobody else severely injured, right?
Mhm.
You know, because that could have taken away from what this meant. And I don't mean that in a negative way. What I'm saying is, had Bobby's accident injured somebody else or killed somebody else,
Mhm.
it would have, taken some of it would have added to the sting. It would have taken some of this away. It would have added the questions, was he on medicine? Should he been driving?
Yeah.
All of that. It would have added
Mhm.
to that. And I'm glad that it didn't. But Bobby's going to be remembered. I'll tell you what. I've seen someone say about hanging flags at half staff. I think they should drop his number down to just below the other numbers. Let it hang right below the other numbers tomorrow night. Or, pardon me, they play Saturday night.
Yeah.
Right? When they play Saturday night, drop that down to where it's just below the other numbers. This is, Bob, Bob, you're close to my age. I don't know. I think maybe you're a little younger. I watched Bobby play, right? And I told a story. I was probably 6 or 7 years old, and I was down, like my grandfather had tickets, and we were right near the bench, between the two benches in that area. And I remember the language, and this was back in the 60s and 70s. These guys still spoke in Canadian accents, right? They really had it. The hosers and this and that, and the A's and Ahs and all of those were coming out. And I remember, I forget who the coach was, but he was screaming at the team. You this and that, and you guys let this happen, and you guys let that happen, and just, cursing up a storm. And, 6 years old, I'm like, and then I heard, I don't remember who it was, somebody look at Bobby and said, would you shut him up, please? Bobby says, okay. Gets tapped on the shoulder, jumps out, and beelines for the first opponent he sees. Just cold cocks him. Just cold cocks him. Drops the gloves, grabs him, starts hitting. Right? Fight ensues. Everybody's stick tapping there, toe crowds going up. Bobby gets his 5 minutes, right? Comes back to the bench and he goes, "Is that good enough?" And that was Bobby. He just did what he had to do. And his hip checks, they were the man's hip. I don't know if he ever got it replaced, but it had to be made of stone. He could hip check you the next week. It was absolutely just phenomenal. And I'm sorry I'm talking so much, guys. I hope I'm not.
He was known for that hip check. He could throw that check. That was his deal, man. And that was back in the day when hip check would send you to the damn wall. It wasn't a little tap. It was a boom. So, yeah, that was his game for sure,
Well, not only that, you look at, I talked about this. He took guys like Chase and Twist, some of these other non-skilled hockey players, and took them to the AHL championship, to a ring as a coach.
Wow.
He knew what it took to win. And while he never won the cup himself, the fact that he got the drink out of it, I'm still disappointed that his name's not on the cup, and it really should be. In fact, when I brought that point up today, Tom from Blue Notes thought it was on the cup, right? And it's not. I was really shocked that it wasn't. This man epitomized what it meant to be not just a Blue, but a St. Louisan.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing that, like this one here, he took Jackman under his wing, and allowed him to wear his number. And Jackman's the last one to ever wear 5. And oh man, I'm having a hard time even talking right now. I can't find the words to express.
I would love to hear what Barrett has to say. I haven't seen anything from Barrett Jackman.
Sure.
I'm
sure that'll all start coming out in the next couple of days.
Yeah, I'm sure it will. Barrett is So one of the players that I reached out to basically told me that I can't come on right now. I got to process this. Give me a couple of days. Right. And then he sent me some stuff that was very deep and a little more information than I probably wanted to know. And Tanner asked a great question. What does it take to be a St. Louis? And you know what, Tanner? That is a great question. And you know what it takes to be a St. Louisan? It takes going the extra step. It takes caring about your neighbors. It takes understanding what this city is all about. When all that stuff happened in 2014, my heart bled. My heart cried. I cried tears. What's going on? And Maroon did have a great statement. I'm sorry, I'm unable to pull it up. Maybe Jeremy, if you can pull that statement up that he did, Pat Maroon did, and read it for us.
You know, Guy, I will say St. Louisans do expect people, no matter where they go in life, to step outside themselves and you know, leave it at the doorstep and just be genuine. And that's exactly who Bobby Plager was. So, you know, to say he was a typical St. Louisan, you know, he was just a genuine guy. He gave everybody a chance and he wore it on his sleeve. You know what I mean? And that's what being a St. Louisan, at least for a guy who grew up here, me, I see it as.
Yeah. So let me tell you a little story, and this is something that happened yesterday, and it now makes me feel so much better. This is what it means to be a St. Louisan. I recently listed my truck for sale, put it on the Hickam used car lot, and had an 18-year-old kid call me and offer me a really lowball price. But I said, no, let's not worry about the price. Let's go out and look at the car, look at the truck, drive it around. We did. And his uncle came out and looked at it, and we agreed on a price. It was less than what I wanted. I understood, but I made a deal with him. I said, okay, until this time period, if nobody else comes with this offer or higher, it's your truck. Well, about an hour before the time period ran up, someone called me. I told him what the deal was, and he says, yeah, well, I'm still interested, and offered me that amount. I called the kid because I felt bad selling it out from under him. I really did. And I offered him $500 because that's what you do. You take care of people. You don't just rat them out. You take care of people. And the kid refused to take it. But that's what being a St. Louisan is. You do the right thing. And Bobby always did the right thing. Mm-hmm. Didn't matter who was looking, right? Sure. Do the right thing. No matter who's looking. Okay, go ahead, Jeremy, and I apologize for jumping on you there.
Oh, you're good. Pat Maroon said, R.I.P. Bobby. You were always smiling and always had a great story to tell. The St. Louis Blues family will miss having you around, number 5. My thoughts and prayers are with Bobby and his family during this difficult time. # Bobby Plager.
And that's just so fitting. You know, to think that he was also one of the guys, a St. Louisan, was one of the guys that brought that cup to Bobby. Think about what that had to mean to Pat, to Bobby, drink out of that cup, right? And I think Bobby was at Pat's Cup Day celebration at Charlie Gito's.
I believe so.
I think he was, right? I know. Oh, hey, Lance, if you want to come on, let me know, buddy. I'll stay. I wasn't going to stay on much longer, but if you want to come on, please let me know, and I'll send you a thing. I apologize, Lance. My head is not in a great spot right now.
I'll probably tag out if he comes on, if that's okay with you, bud.
Okay, no, that's fine, bro.
36 minutes ago, David Perron put out, "It is with a heavy heart that I learned the passing of one of my favorite hockey people I've ever encountered. For the moment I was 19, Bobby Plager has welcomed me to the Blues and still came to say hi when I was on another team." Wow.
And there you go.
DP 57 is insane.
Yeah. Right. Well, Lance is declining. He thinks we're doing fine. That's okay. And Brock, if you need to go, you're more than welcome.
Sure,
you don't have to stick around.
5 minutes or so. But yeah, again, like I said, again, Bobby is the glue that held the organization together. The young kids, you talk about David Perron, and you talk about Kelly Chase. I mean, these are, he was there from the start, and he was the guy that sewed it all together. And I think that's what people are going to miss. That he had relationships with, Larry Patey, but also with David Perron, and was with Jordan Cairo. He just had friendships with everybody. And when people mention his name, it's always, oh God, I got a great Bobby Plager story, or it's full of humor or love or joy. You never hear anybody with any sort of anger or pent up frustration, or, oh, that guy's a jerk.
Oh, no.
Everybody always has the comment about, man, that guy's a funny guy. He's a fun guy to be around. And that's the ultimate tribute, man. I hope people remember me that way. I really do, because that is the way you want to be remembered.
No, it is. And Lance, I'm sending you an invite. You are not butting in. In fact, I really, really would love to have you in on this topic.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Lance. This is one of those ones where I screwed up. I should have invited you from the beginning. And Brock, thank you so much for joining us.
Good.
Greatly appreciate it. You've got some great articles coming up, but that's not what today's about.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later.
But I will say this. I did an interview last year with Bruce Affleck, and he talked about the numbers in the rafters because he played with half of them. Listen to that interview and listen to the emotion in his voice when he talks about Bob Gessoff, who he was with that Gessoff passed.
Wow.
But Barclay and that, and there's just so many other, talking about Chase starting Gateway Hockey. Yeah. These guys did what they could. And I sent that to you on Twitter, Lance. So hopefully you'll jump in here shortly. I really need, for my own psyche right now, I need to hear Lance. And I think that's something that's kind of important, that, that you guys really, and I know it's me talking, but I'm having, and I just say this in the nicest way, I'm having a difficult time processing this. Right?
Sure.
This is, and I don't want to liken his death to other people's death, but it's just, when imagine Saturday without Bobby, right? That's what we have to do. And that's not, and the Blues said it. We cannot imagine not having Bobby at the rink. It's unimaginable to imagine that Bobby's not going to be at the rink anymore.
I got another one for you from David Backus, who literally was just playing against the Wild today with the Ducks. He said, Bobby Plager loves St. Louis, and St. Louis loved Bobby Plager, an original and one of a kind that will never be replaced. He set the tone for the organization on what it meant to be a Blue, made everyone understand what an honor it was to wear that jersey and represent that town.
Yeah, and Chris Shockley here says it's going to be hard to skate. Warriors coach Rob Ramage also wore the number 5. Those guys, Bobby knew what those guys meant. This is
real quick before I bump off. I just, I want to thank you for doing this, guy. I know this is very personal for you, and but to talk about it, and all fans should talk about it, because again, we're in a terrible mental health crisis in America. And if you don't talk about things and don't reach out to people, it just terrible things happen. I did a story today for Hockey Writers about Todd Ewan, who's a very, very, we'll say that for another day. But, again, if you have depression issues, reach out. And again, it's important to talk to people. There's nothing wrong with it. So again, Guy and Jeremy, I'll talk to you guys later. Okay. Thanks again for what you did.
No problem, bud. No problem. Take it easy, Brock. Thank you for joining us. No, Brock's right. So you guys already know that I'm heavily involved in the 22 until none effort, and that's, and really when it comes to that. Yeah. Sorry, I can't watch how emotional everyone is. I gotta go. It's too tough. Oh, I get you, Lance. I appreciate this, buddy. I really did. There are very few people that I want to talk to right now that can really help understand what I'm going through, and you're one of them. This is so important that we do, just for a few minutes, talk about what he meant to the city, to the team, to the fan base, and to each and every one of us. And I know you've got a couple of stories, so I'm just going to turn it over to you, buddy.
Yeah, when I first heard this, I actually heard it a little bit before probably most people did. I thought it was not going to say a joke, but I thought hopefully they were wrong. And maybe it was just somebody driving his car. And, you know, when I moved out here from California, when I was just before 6, before I turned 6, originally lived in High Ridge and then moved to Highland, Illinois. And my dad had tickets to every Blues game because back then, to be all honest, the Blues weren't very good. They just weren't. But as a kid that loved hockey, even coming from California, being a Golden Seals fan, a lot of people are going to say, who the heck are the Golden Seals? But
I know.
I watched the Golden Seals and not the Kings, and I got to see Bobby Plager play. I always, you know, I've watched him before I came out here and seen him on some games. When I would come out and visit my family out here, it's really sad. Somebody like him, he wasn't, you know, some people will say, what's the big deal? He wasn't like the greatest Blues player ever, didn't have the best success, wasn't the best guy. Well, you know what? That's not what we're talking about here. It's like your list you had the other day. We weren't talking about the greatest Blues NHL players. We're talking about the greatest greatest Blues. And he definitely was. I mean, I know a lot of people around the NHL, and I know of very few instances where somebody plays for a team and then retires and stays with that team for 30, 40 years after they retire. It's very, very rare, even with the original 6 team.
Yeah.
It's very rare to find somebody like him. And he was such a great ambassador to the city. And the thing that I loved when the Blues won the cup, a lot of guys were talking about how much it meant to them, not just because of them, but because of what it meant to Bobby Plager. Yeah. And to me, that shows you something. Every player from every generation that's still alive will have a nice story to say about him. I know some people that met him out in the public, and, you know, when you meet somebody like him, you know, it was my brother, him and his kids met him. And when you meet somebody like him, you don't want to take up too much of their time. But my brother's like, he kept trying to edge away from him, and Bobby was still wanting to talk. Yeah. And that's you're going to hear story after story like that about him. He never minded the fans. He never minded them coming up and talking about him, whether it was at his place, whether when he was out in public at Walmart, at Sam's, whatever it was, he would stop and talk to you. And people outside of St. Louis that have just heard of him, you know, when they saw him hold the cup up on the celebration parade after that, and, you know, and they may know him as a former Blues player, they have no idea what this man meant to the city. And, you know, it's just as hurtful as if any Blues player dies, but it's even more with somebody like him. I mean, I know that if something happened to another player that was a great player, like an all-star or a Hall of Famer, people would be really upset. Of course they would, but this guy was more to the city than just a good player. He's a great ambassador, just like Brett Hall is, just like other former players are. And it's just sad to see these guys go. And, you know, after I had my stroke, it made me reevaluate my life and makes you look at things differently. And after one of your heroes, you know, that meant so much to the city and the town that I grew up in, even though I was born in California, to see him go, it's like there's a piece of you missing.
Well, and the other part of this is, Roland says I met him at his bar and Bobby always talked. Mm-hmm. That, you know, that's true. And I'm regretful that I never got him on the show, that I couldn't get his daughter to think that I was big enough. Whatever. I'm not going there.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
Not going there. Going there. I'm regretful that he didn't come on the show, that I can get to talk to him, to hear his stories and things like that. The hardest thing for me is that it was so sudden, right? That this wasn't something that was, you know, he had an illness like Bark. Bark had an illness. We knew Bark. We knew Bark was in the hospital. Yep. We knew Bark probably wasn't going to go to the All-Star game. We knew Wickenheiser had an illness, you know, things like that. I likened it to Dimitra and Dimitra's passing in the plane crash, because it kind of affected a generation that way. Bobby was Mr. Blue. No one's going to take his place, and I'm going to stand behind this fact. He is the last of the original six. I don't think there's another person, or from the second six, that is still with their team today.
No,
right?
I know a lot of front offices, and I can't think of anyone.
Right, this man was with that team from the beginning. Right from the beginning, Jim. A true blue legend. Rest in peace, Bobby. You're number one in our. Jim, thank you. Jim has been talking to me about some things, and Jim, I appreciate you coming on. He's become a new fan of the show and becoming a very deep fan of the show, and I appreciate him a lot.
Yeah, and you know what else is just so great about the way Bobby was, is that look how much time he gave the city. Yeah. Look at how much time of his life. A lot of players retire and they go elsewhere, or they retire and they go back and, they fish, they go back up to Canada, they do whatever. He stayed here in the city. He didn't have to do that, but he loved this city. And I know Jeremy, has just heard of him, and Jeremy's, not probably fully aware of what you and I, know about him, but I'm sure I'm getting texts from people across the NHL that are sending condolences to me. And I'm like, don't send me condolences. Send his family condolences. Send the Blues condolences. Send the Blues front office condolences. It's just a shock. And after seeing pictures of the car incident, it really makes you shed a tear, because when you look at it, it doesn't look that serious. I mean, it looks like a car accident. Yeah. And that's another thing that's just so shocking about it. We weren't prepared. We weren't prepared for it. And I think, you and I had your top 10 list the other day. How much did we talk about him?
Yeah,
we talked a lot about him. And it was just all fresh in our minds. And then this happened. It's almost like losing maybe not a friend that you were super close to, because you and I weren't close to him. We didn't know him really personally. But since somebody you've heard so much about, and all of a sudden they pass, and you know how much he meant to the city. And I hope I'm not taking up too much time, but
no, you're not.
I can't. I could sit here, Guy. You and I could sit here, and Jeremy could probably sit here listening to us. We could talk for 2 or 3 hours, and there still wouldn't be enough time. I listened to Jamie Rivers' show today on the Turn, and he was just, you could tell the guy was shocked. You could tell he was upset. And I'm sure after the microphones went off, it kind of hit him. I know it did, because I know Jamie, and I know it hit him. You could tell that he was just kind of in shock that it happened when he confirmed it and said the rumors are true. And I was kind of shocked too. I was hoping that the rumors weren't true. I was hoping that, that maybe he was in a car accident and he wasn't hurt, but he was taken to the hospital. But this just blindsides you. We weren't expecting it.
I got the statement that was released to the players, to the alumni.
Yep.
I'm not going to read it.
No, I wouldn't.
But I can confirm that he did have a heart attack.
Well, do you know what? That's exactly what me and another guy that works for the Maple Leafs were talking about. That with his age, since the accident looked so bad, it was probably a heart attack. But I never want to come out and say that until it's confirmed, because I think that's very disrespectful to the family.
You're right.
It's sad. It really is sad, because I know when you get older, if you fall, if you're in a car accident, if you get hit or anything, it's such a shock to your system. And it's just so bad that he didn't go out on his own terms. Like you said, he didn't die of 90 years old of old age. He didn't die of cancer, which would have been terrible. We could have said goodbye to him. We don't get a chance to say goodbye to him.
Yeah. And I think that's probably the hardest part. And you know what? I could see him being around until he was 90.
Oh, he was a feisty guy. He really was. Yeah. I mean,
right.
He had some good energy. I mean, I think he was 78. 78. My dad's 77.
He just turned 78.
Yeah, my dad turned 77 this year. And, I know my dad's got energy for a 77-year-old, but I've seen Bobby out at places, and he gets along pretty good for a 77-year-old guy. And I imagine if this wouldn't have happened, we'd have had him for several more years.
Now, I will say this. I want everybody to understand this. Somebody that I know sent me the release that was sent to the players, the text that was sent to the players. I read it to 2 other people, but after I read it, I could not read it again. I
Yeah.
couldn't. And even now, I'm not hiding anything. It's just,
Guy, you're being very respectful. You were able to read it. You told a couple other people. And I think that's very respectful of you because that was meant for the players. And it's nice that you got that, but you're going to be respectful and let the players have that. And
Yes.
I fully understand that there's nothing wrong with that, Guy. And I imagine if you read it, I'd probably get very emotional and you would probably get very emotional. And you know, I think when somebody passes, we need to look at the positive of what the person did. And there's so many positive things. Like I said earlier, we could be on here for 3 hours talking about him.
yeah, no, and it
Yeah.
is. And, like Asher said, it's personal to players, and it is. And like I said, I read earlier the quote I got from Gary Younger, direct quote from him. I got a direct quote from Mike Zook, and Mike was just pointing. Gary,
I bet he was
he
upset.
say again.
Yeah. I bet he was up. Knowing Mike, it probably really hit him hard.
It did.
Yeah.
And Jimmy, Mike.
Well, you know, I
this
want to
was
say,
Mike's statement.
I want to say one thing to Jeremy. I know that the Bobby wasn't a Hall of Famer, but
Mhm.
can you imagine what the Penguins fans would do if somebody like Mario Lemieux passed?
I was just about to say, if
can
Mario,
you imagine that?
oh, Pittsburgh would be, another one that would be like Bobby would be Art Rooney II,
Yeah, I can see that.
the owner
Yeah.
of the Steelers. If
Yep.
he passed right now,
Yeah.
the entire state of Pennsylvania would be shut down. Not
Or-
only
or-
Philadelphia.
Or if somebody like
Or
Terry
Pittsburgh.
Bradshaw,
Oh
Terry
God!
Bradshaw passed. I mean, it's terrible, and I
It
hope
is.
NHL fans, you know, when they give their condolences, they really mean it, and they're not just jumping on the bandwagon. Because, like I
Right.
said, I've got a lot of texts from a lot of different people, and nothing negative about the guy. Nothing. Everybody's told me that if they've met him, you know, a lot of people you'll hear good things, but you'll hear some bad things. I've never once heard a bad thing about Bobby or Barkley. Not
No.
once have I heard a bad thing about him.
No, and the
Zero.
stories about Barkley are, you know who personifies, and I'm going to say this, and I'm going to just, first of all, this is a quote from Mike Duke. Bobby was the heart and soul of the Blues and the alumni.
Yeah.
Period. That's it.
Yes.
I'm not, I have Ungers. I read it before. Brett Hull epitomizes what Bobby was.
Yeah.
And I know he's got a mouth. And I know there's people that have some bad stories about him. But he learned how to love this city from
Yep.
Bobby.
Yeah.
And he still loves the city. The picture of him walking down the street the night before the parade at 2 a.m, drunk as hell, waving at fans.
I'm going to tell you something. From the time I got to spend with Brett at Grant's premiere, he speaks his mind, but I'm going to tell you what, not a bad word about the city, not a bad word about anybody he played against. Just talks about the city. I mean, you know, and he is like Bobby, you know, like we all say, Bobby wasn't an all-star, but you know what? He was an all-star person. He
Yeah.
was a Hall of Fame person. That's the type of person that he was. And I'm not just blowing smoke. Like I said, you know, I know so many people that have known him, and everybody's sad. I mean, and I hope if people are able to, I know some families want a private ceremony, and if that's what they want, that's great. But I hope somehow people can pay their respects to him, whether going to the ceremony or sending their love and their thanks for him and what he's done for the city to his family. I hope there's an opportunity for Blues fans, people across the NHL, because like I said, a lot of people across the NHL knew him. He wasn't just popular here in St. Louis.
No, he
and
was.
it's a hard day all around the NHL. It really
Yeah.
is.
It is.
There are two things that need to happen in my eyes. Thing number one, and it can happen Saturday, his number 5 needs to be lowered to just below the other numbers.
Yeah.
Right. Just so, you know, you got the numbers hanging like this, take his to where it's right here.
Yeah.
Right. Got it. And the other thing is that they put him in the Hall of Fame as a builder, because there would not be a St. Louis Blues franchise. There was not a Bobby player.
Mm-hmm.
Bobby and his brother, their love of the team is what got Harry Ornest by this team.
Yep. And I'm gonna tell you another thing. Their love and their efforts, Bobby's included, is one of the reasons the team didn't move.
Yes. I absolutely know that for a fact.
That is spot on. I'm not saying that they paid a bunch of money to keep him here or anything like that, but their efforts, they made a lot of efforts without people knowing it. They didn't come out and say, look at me, I'm trying to keep my old team here. They did it in secret, and they did things to help this team stay here. And I hope every Blues fan, whether it's a casual Blues fan, whether it's a 50-year season ticket holder, whether it's a 5-year season ticket holder, whether it's a mezzanine ticket holder, a club seat, a glass seat ticket holder, I hope everybody appreciates what he did and his family, including Barclay, for this city.
When I get back and I get to go to a game, I guarantee you, I'm wearing a hat today, and that's just because, need to look professional. But really, this is where it should be.
Yeah.
And I don't mean disrespect with the hat or any of that. And I think everybody realizes that.
Yeah.
But when I get to a game, my hat's going over my heart, and I'm throwing a salute because that man deserves it.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
Say again.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
He's one of the few people that when people say good things about him, they're being honest. People say positive things about people that die all the time, but some of the people aren't being honest, like famous people that get into it with other famous people and they fight. And then when they die, they talk about how great they were. That's not the instance here. People across the NHL have told me that whether they met him once, whether they played against him, whether they played with him, not a bad word to say about the man at all.
Apparently, they have at the Enterprise Center right now, and you can go on Twitter, on St. Louis Blues Twitter. I don't know how well you can see this.
Yeah, I can see it a little bit.
They have Bobby Plager's, the Bobby Plager with the blue note and the time hanging over the Enterprise right now.
That's nice.
Inside the Enterprise, and that's
awesome.
That's just what it needs to be.
Yep. Somebody said a statue of the Plager brothers. Me, Guy, I think there should be a certain criteria for statues, and not everybody should get one.
Yeah.
Like people wanting Pietrangelo to get one because he was our first captain to hoist the cup, and he should get one over Pronger because Pronger left. And all. You know what? If anybody deserves a statue, if any three people, it's the Plagers.
They absolutely need a statue with the three of them, with Bark in the middle, Bobby on the left, Bill on the right.
At least, if not a statue, at least some bust of their upper bodies next to each other.
I think they need a full statue. I really do, and I think that this is the time. And unfortunately, it's coming too late. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Because maybe one was planned, thinking Bobby's in good health, we can wait. But for whatever reason, we can't wait now, and it has to happen because those statues, the three statues that are out there, mean something.
Yeah, they
Brett
do.
Hull is the reason that this organization is still here. Bernie Federko is another guy that bleeds blue, through and through. He spent his entire career but 1 year and a half here, right? Al McGinnis, what he's done and what he continues to do, right? The fact that his career ended because of his eye, right? Imagine if he doesn't lose his eyesight from a puck.
Well,
what he could have done.
One thing about Al, people don't know this. A lot of people, he was a great defenseman, great shot, but he wasn't a great Big Al was a good defenseman. He was good from both ways. And a lot of people don't realize this. I'll tell them, well, he's the 38th all-time leading scorer. Oh, you mean among defensemen? No, I mean among forwards, centers, everybody. That's how good Al McGinnis was. And Al still works with the Blues. And I think in 20, 30 years, we'll be talking about Al being with the Blues for like Bobby Plager is with the Blues and how he promotes the city. Everybody says Brett Hull. It was that Savas when it was actually Kiel when it initially opened. It was the house that Brett built. Yeah, Brett did build it because without him, they probably wouldn't have got a new building. But Bobby Plager paved the way and made it possible for Brett to get that house built.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. That's dead on right. And it is about Bobby. So we're at an hour, and I know we could go on and on a little more than I wanted to, but Oh yeah, I fell on my butt trying to high five him. Yeah, I don't want to. I tried to high five Brett Hull and missed. Yeah, not a memory I want to keep. But this, guys. Unfortunately, I need to let you go.
That's all right.
And you know, Blue Notes did something really poignant. They did a 1 minute moment of silence for him. I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to ask that everybody for the next 30 seconds hold up the number. Just hold up the number 5. Right? So I'll tell you when. We're going to start it for 30 seconds and then we're going to let 5 go on. So please, if you're watching and listening, hold up. Thank you so much for doing that. I mean, that's what we needed to do for him. Got to do your own thing your own way. And Lance, I feel you, man. I feel the tears, and it's coming. I'm not going to do a normal cutaway. I'm just going to say, aloha, mahalo, thank you for joining us tonight and listening to us talk about and remember Bobby Plager, because there's nothing more important, really, than doing that right now at this moment.
And I want to say one last thing. I know we've all thanked Bobby and everything in the past and thanking for his time with the Blues, but I want to thank his family for allowing him to spend so much time making sure the Blues got to where they are today. Not a lot of families would like that. When somebody retires, they want him to spend time with them. And I know he got to spend time with them, but he gave a lot of hours to this city and to this team. And I just want to thank his family, his wife and kids. And thank you so much for allowing him to do that.
Yep. And yeah, it's just really hard. And you're right. Thank you. And to the Plager family, our hearts go out to you, to his kids and his grandkids. And we know what you guys mean to St. Louis, and you guys will always have a spot. And I'm guessing that the Blues Alumni Suite will now be called the Plager Suite.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, Jim, thank you. So, everyone, this is Guy saying aloha, mahalo, and I'll see you again. Blue Note Fan Report.